Hey guys, Brian delivers you the goods here. I'm returning to you for this album review this afternoon, I guess you could say, for the new Weeknd record, The Weeknd, Hurry Up Tomorrow. His new record that I just got a chance to listen to for the 22 tracks. I'm not including the bonus tracks because I know the bonus tracks did come out, but I've been having a problem finding them, so it says it's released, but I don't think it's released yet, digitally and streaming services or anything, because I couldn't find those extra tracks, Runaway in Society. But other than that, I'm going to discuss what I listened to for this 85-minute record, or 85-minute record, and let you know my thoughts on this Weeknd's closing chapter to his After Hours trilogy. Which was starting with After Hours, then Dawn FM, and now the closing chapter to the whole trilogy. And let's dive into this Hurry Up Tomorrow album review. So from what I listened to, it starts with Wake Me Up, and I think this song was pretty good, but it just was a slow kind of track. It started progressing towards the end of the track, but it was a slow burner for most of it. I didn't hate it, but I didn't necessarily think it was my favorite. But I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5 for this one. It's a good song, but it just has its weak moments. Then you get Cry For Me, and that one was a pretty good track for how it sounded. I really enjoyed the Weeknd Abel's vocals in this, so I'd give it a 5 out of 5 for this one. Then you get I Can't Fucking Sing. I will say, for Cry For Me, the good aspect about the track was the beats, the melody, and just Abel's singing vocals in it was pretty strong. So really dug the mixing and production in that track. But now to get back on track with where I left off, I Can't Fucking Sing was a snippet of, well, like a skit to the next track, Sao Paulo, featuring Anita. This track actually is referencing the time where he couldn't sing and he lost his voice during a live show and he just couldn't sing the note, hit those pitches that he could have hit. But it was a shame and it seemed very embarrassing for him. But other than that, I think the track was interesting, but it just represents an embarrassing time for him for that time period. And this is where I'm going to be explaining that this is going to be his last album as The Weeknd. From what I've heard, it's supposed to be his last record as the artist The Weeknd, and he's going to go by his own name afterwards as a solo artist instead of The Weeknd. So it's going to be a little different for him. But other than that, it's a 4.75 out of 5. It was just only like 13 seconds or so. Then it goes into Sao Paulo featuring Anita. This track was pretty good, but the mixing was all over the place at times with the EDM stuff. So it was good, but it's an acquired taste, basically. So 5 out of 5. It's still a strong track. Don't get me wrong. The production and mixing is strong in its own way. But there are times where it gets a little repetitious and annoying to the point where I'm like, okay, maybe dial it down a bit. Until We're Skin and Bones is just like a EDM weird production track. It's only like 22 seconds going into Baptized in Fear afterwards. So 4.75 out of 5. It's just a skit of a track, like an interlude. Baptized in Fear is a pretty good song for how it sounds. I really like Abel's vocals, The Weeknd's vocals in this track. It sounds pretty strong. It is slow of a track, so you're in for the more slow R&B kind of vibe to this track. But it's good for how it is. Open Hearts is the next track, and 5 out of 5 for Baptize in Fear. Open Hearts is the next song, and that's a pretty good track too. I really dug this one, so I'd give it a 5 out of 5. Abel's vocals sound pretty strong in this. Opening Night is I guess an interlude or something going into the next track, which does have a featured artist. But other than that, Opening Night is a 5 out of 5. I did enjoy the mixing and production in this track. It was pretty solid. Then you get Reflections Laughing. This is a pretty good song too. It has Travis Scott in the track, even though I'm not a fan of Travis Scott because of what he did in Houston, where a lot of people died at his concert for him hyping up the audience for a song, and then they just started going crazy. He wanted the crowd to mosh a little, and they were running over people and hurting people, the fans and all that in the crowd, and he didn't have the audacity to stop that happening. He didn't tell them, wait, there are people there and all that. So that was fucked up on Travis Scott's part, and he didn't seem apologetic when he made that apology. I don't like Travis Scott for that one reason, and I dislike the man personally. But I will say the production, as an artist, he's fine. As a person, he's not good. But the Weeknd wanted to collab with him, and I'm like, okay, but yeah. Other than that, it's a 5 out of 5 for this track. The mixing was pretty strong, so I did dig that. Even Travis Scott rapping in it was fine, but it's just eh. Then we get to Enjoy the Show, which features Future. Future kind of mumbled a few times in this, but I could understand some of it. At least he mumbled a little slow in this track, but other than that, it wasn't one of my favorite songs from the Weeknd, but it was fine. I'll still give it a 5 out of 5, even though I like the Weeknd's vocals in this track. Giving Up on Me is actually a pretty good song. It has the Future in it in the background of this track, and it's solid for how it sounds, so 5 out of 5. I Can't Wait to Get You There is the 12th song on the record. Pretty good song in its own way, but not one of my personal favorite records, or personal favorite songs, I meant to say. I don't know why I said favorite records, but it's fine for what it goes for. 4.75 out of 5. Then we get Timeless featuring Playboi Carti. This song has grown on me a lot more. I've been coming back to this from time to time. I think it's a good track. I just think the mixing has its moments where it's a little quirky at times. It does good at times, but when Playboi Carti does his like baby voice production vocals, it's kind of not that great. It's just the baby auto-tune vocals kind of sound weird, if I'm being honest. But other than that, that's what they were saying it was in the comment section of some of these tracks and all that. But from what I listened to with Timeless, it's good, but it has its problems. So 4.5 out of 5. Niagara Falls is a pretty good song in its own way. I'd give it a 4.75 out of 5. I don't necessarily hate this track. I have a few critiques with this song for how it sounds overall. And yeah, it just, the way Abel's singing it from time to time, there are some good points and bad points with this track. But execution-wise, this track did alright. 4.75 out of 5. Take Me Back to LA is kind of like the sequel to that Out of LA song from After Hours, or whatever that song was. Escape from LA, I think, was the song's name. I can't remember. It's been a couple years since I listened to After Hours, which I will be re-reviewing that, keep in mind. As a Tuesday album review for this year. So, I guess I spoiled it, but oh well. But other than that, Take Me Back to LA is a 5 out of 5. Big Sleep. It's a good song, but not one of my personal favorites, if I'm being honest. I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. It just, some of the production got a little lazy in this. And execution wise, it's not terrible, but it could have been better for how it sounded. So I'd give it a 4.5 out of 5. Give Me Mercy sounded pretty good for how it was. It started off slow for most of it. Most of the track was a little bit of a slow burner, but it does progress and get a little better. So I'd give it a 5 out of 5. It's still a personal favorite track. I probably it could grow on me throughout time. Drive is a pretty good song in its own way. It's just one of those tracks you just get through the record and it's like, okay, let's just breeze through this track and continue forward. But it's not bad. So 4.75 out of 5. Abel's vocals work from time to time with this track, and execution wise, it performed alright. The Abyss is featuring Lana Del Rey as well. She's kind of in the bridge part of the song. I will give her props on Lana Del Rey on this track because she did alright. I wouldn't say everything about her vocals in this was 100% great. I would say 75% of the time it's fine. And the other 25, it kind of gets cringy. But other than that, The Abyss was a good track featuring Lana Del Rey, so I'd give it a 5 out of 5. Red Terror was a pretty good song in its own way. It does tend to drag on a little from time to time, but for the execution as the 20th song on the record, it's going to get a 4.75 out of 5. Abel's vocals work from time to time, and execution-wise, it's alright for what it goes for. Without a Warning is probably one of my favorite second-to-last tracks, going into the closing track pretty soon that I will be talking about, which is the title track. But other than that, Without a Warning is a personal favorite, so I'd give it a 5 out of 5. Good track. Hurry Up Tomorrow is the closing track to the record and the title track to this whole album. It's the closer to this interesting album and a highly anticipated album I was really excited to listen to, but I will tell you what I'm going to rate it towards the end of the review. I got to talk about the background of this album a little bit, and then I'll get to the rating. But other than that, I think it's a pretty good song. It's a good closing track for how Abel's singing it from time to time. And execution-wise, The Weeknd pulled it off with this track. He pulled off a great epic song to end this record. It didn't start off great, but it ended climatically in a good way to end this whole trilogy of After Hours, Dawn FM, and this new record, Hurry Up Tomorrow. So other than that, I think it's a good closing track to end a trilogy like this. So other than that, 5 out of 5. So now I'm going to go into the synopsis of this record, which is the background of this album. So with this record, it took him a little bit to find a release date. The one thing I was disappointed with this record is they didn't have Dancing in the Flames as part of this album. That was a good track. That was a really good track. That should have been on this record. And I was so disappointed that it didn't make the cut. But other than that, the record's fine. And pretty much the synopsis about it is he did lose his voice at a live show, if you guys remember back in 2022 or something like that, with his Dawn FM tour. And afterwards, he was so embarrassed because I guess he had to cancel the live show afterwards because he couldn't do any more. He had to sing in a monotone way, monotone vocals, and it really embarrassed him to the point where crushed him uh, from the inside and all that, from not singing the best potential that he can. But other than that, I think as he came back, I think 6 albums is enough for the Weeknd's discography. Him as the Weeknd, Abel as the Weeknd. But other than that, if he does go by his name Abel Tesfaye or whatever his last name is, but I think with this whole record, this was meant to be the closing chapter as the Weeknd, as this trilogy, but I think as the Weeknd, he wants this to be the closing chapter as the artist, the Weeknd. But other than that, it's an average record. Would I say it's my favorite? Not necessarily, but it's listenable from time to time. It just, there's some slow burners with this album, with some tracks, and it kind of ruined some of the reception of this record to decrease the rating that I'm going to be giving it. But I don't hate this record. I think it's one of the weakest in his discography as The Weeknd, and it is the closing album for the whole After Hours trilogy, which started with After Hours, then Dawn FM, and now Hurry Up Tomorrow. But if I were to give Hurry Up Tomorrow its deserved score, I'm feeling a light 7.5 out of 10 for this record. Average listen, not one of my favorites, but it's just the album happened, and I was disappointed they didn't have Dancing in the Flames on this record, but hey, it's fine. It still was a pretty strong track. It should have made the cut for this record. I will be reviewing the deluxe edition tracks eventually, but for now, from what I listened to, I'm fine with what I listened to for the 22 tracks of a almost 85-minute album, which it was pretty long, keep in mind. The whole entire record is 90 minutes, if you include the extra tracks. So you're in for about an hour and a half of a listen for Hurry Up Tomorrow, but it's a solid release. I was hoping it'd be a lot better, but yeah, it's fine for what it is. So 7.5 out of 10 for The Weeknd, Hurry Up Tomorrow for his new album. I hope you enjoyed this album review this afternoon, and thank you guys for watching.